What if the world ended in 2012 and nobody noticed? Dr. Elena Vasquez stared at the impossible data streaming across her monitor in CERN's underground facility. The Large Hadron Collider had been operational for months after its latest upgrade, but tonight's readings defied every law of physics she knew. The quantum field measurements showed fractures, literal tears in the fabric of space-time itself. The sterile corridors of the European Organization for Nuclear Research hummed with an unusual tension. Emergency protocols had been quietly activated 3 hours ago, though most staff remained unaware. Elena's security clearance granted her access to classified data that painted a terrifying picture. Reality wasn't behaving as it should. Her colleague, Dr. Marcus Chen, burst through the laboratory doors, his face pale with disbelief. "Elena, you need to see this immediately. The temporal displacement readings are off the charts. We're detecting chronological inconsistencies dating back exactly 13 years. The significance hit her like a physical blow. 13 years ago marked December 21st, 2012, the date many believed would herald the end of the world. Ancient Mayans had predicted it. Conspiracy theorists had obsessed over it. Scientists had dismissed it. But what if they had all been wrong about what the end actually meant? Elena's hands trembled as she accessed the classified file. The data suggested something unprecedented. Their current timeline might be artificial, a quantum echo of a reality that should have ceased to exist. The implication, if true, every moment since 2012 existed in a fractured unstable. Outside, the Swiss Alps stood silent under starlight, unaware that beneath their peaks, scientists had potentially discovered the most dangerous truth in human history. Reality itself was breaking apart, one quantum particle at a time. The ancient Mayans hadn't predicted the end of the world. They had predicted the end of reality as humanity understood it. Dr. Sarah Blackwood, a quantum archaeologist secretly contracted by CERN, had spent years studying the intersection between ancient prophecies and modern physics. Her research, buried in classified archives, revealed disturbing correlations between Mayan astronomical calculations and quantum mechanics. Deep within CERN's restricted archives, Sarah examined stone tablets that mainstream archaeology had dismissed as mythological nonsense. The Mayans described something they called the Great Fracturing, a moment when the cosmic web would tear, creating multiple realities existing simultaneously. Their calendar didn't end on December 21st, 2012. It marked the beginning of what they termed the shadow time. The mathematical precision of their predictions astounded her. Using primitive tools, the Mayans had calculated quantum probability fields with accuracy that rivaled modern supercomputers. They described reality as a woven fabric that would unravel at specific cosmic coordinates that aligned perfectly with Earth's position on December 21st, 2012. Sarah's hands shook as she translated the final glyphs. The Mayans warned that during the shadow time, people would continue living, unaware they existed in an unstable echo of their original timeline. They would experience déjà vu, false memories, and reality glitches as their fractured dimension slowly collapsed. The most chilling revelation came from the final tablet. The Mayans claimed that advanced beings, possibly future humans, would eventually discover the fracture using light-bending devices. The description matched CERN's particle accelerator with unsettling accuracy. Elena reviewed Sarah's findings with growing horror. If the Mayans were correct, humanity had been living in a deteriorating quantum shadow for 13 years. Every birth, death, achievement, and memory since 2012 existed in a reality that was slowly unraveling. The question wasn't whether their timeline would collapse. It was when. Millions of people worldwide reported memories that didn't match recorded history. The Mandela effect, dismissed by mainstream science as false memory syndrome, suddenly took on terrifying new significance in light of CERN's discoveries. Dr. James Morrison, a cognitive scientist working with the classified CERN team, had been secretly documenting these anomalies for years. His research revealed patterns that conventional psychology couldn't explain. Thousands of individuals remembered Nelson Mandela dying in prison during the 1980s, despite historical records showing he lived until 2013. Others recalled different spellings of common brand names, alternative movie quotes, and geographical changes that seemed impossible. Morrison's breakthrough came when he correlated Mandela effect reports with quantum field fluctuations detected by CERN. The timing was too precise to be coincidental. Every major surge in collective false memories corresponded exactly with periods of increased dimensional instability measured by the particle accelerator. The implications were staggering. If their current reality was indeed a fractured echo of the original timeline, then people experiencing the Mandela effect might be accessing genuine memories from the authentic dimension that ended in 2012. Their brains were somehow detecting the quantum discord between realities. Morrison's classified database contained over 50,000 documented cases. Children born after 2012 showed the highest rates of reality displacement memories, suggesting they were most sensitive to dimensional inconsistencies. Adults who reported strong Mandela effects often described feeling like they were living in the wrong world. The most disturbing cases involved individuals who claimed to remember their own deaths. Hundreds of people reported vivid memories of dying in accidents, natural disasters, or illnesses, only to find themselves alive in circumstances that didn't match their recollections. Elena studied Morrison's data with growing dread. If these weren't false memories but genuine recollections from an authentic timeline, then their fractured reality contained millions of people who should have died 13 years ago. The European Organization for Nuclear Research had been monitoring dimensional anomalies since 2008, 4 years before the supposed end of the world. Classified documents revealed that CERN's true purpose extended far beyond particle physics research. They were actively studying the nature of reality itself, and their discoveries had been hidden from the public for over a decade. Director General Dr. Fabiola Gianotti had inherited a conspiracy that began with her predecessor. The organization's board included representatives from intelligence agencies across multiple nations, all united in maintaining the greatest cover-up in human history. They knew that revealing the truth about reality's fracture would cause global panic and societal collapse. Internal memos, leaked by whistleblower Dr. Elena Vasquez, detailed the organization's response to the 2012 anomaly. On December 21, 2012, CERN's instruments detected what they termed a catastrophic quantum decoherence event. Reality had indeed ended, but somehow an echo dimension had spontaneously generated, allowing consciousness to continue existing in an unstable parallel state. The cover-up involved falsifying public data, suppressing research that revealed dimensional instabilities, and discrediting scientists who approached the truth. CERN worked with government agencies to ensure that any evidence of reality fractures was dismissed as equipment malfunction or human error. Dr. Chen discovered that CERN had been conducting secret experiments designed to stabilize their fractured dimension. The organization feared that without intervention, their echo reality would collapse within decades, erasing billions of lives that technically shouldn't exist. The most shocking revelation came from intercepted communications between CERN and military installations worldwide. Governments were preparing for dimensional collapse protocols, contingency plans for the moment when their fractured reality finally disintegrated. Elena realized that her discovery wasn't just scientific breakthrough. It was evidence of humanity's most desperate secret. They were all living on borrowed time in a universe that had already ended. The human brain, it appeared, was more sensitive to dimensional instabilities than anyone had imagined. Dr. Lisa Park, a neuroscientist secretly recruited by CERN, had been studying the neurological effects of existing in a fractured reality. Her research revealed that human consciousness was actively rejecting their artificial timeline, creating psychological phenomena that mainstream medicine couldn't explain. Park's laboratory, hidden 3 levels beneath CERN's public facilities, contained brain scans from thousands of volunteers worldwide. The data showed unusual neural activity in regions associated with memory formation and temporal perception. People living in their fractured dimension exhibited brain patterns that suggested constant low-level cognitive dissonance. The most significant discovery involved what Park termed quantum memory bleeding. Subjects frequently accessed memories from the original timeline that ended in 2012, experiencing them as dreams, déjà vu, or sudden inexplicable knowledge. Children showed the strongest effects, often describing places they'd never visited or people they'd never met with startling accuracy. Park's experiments revealed that meditation, certain drugs, and extreme emotional states could temporarily enhance access to authentic timeline memories. Subjects under these conditions often became distressed, claiming their current life felt wrong or artificial. Many reported feeling like they were living someone else's existence. The research team discovered that people who died in the original timeline but continued existing in the fractured dimension showed the most severe symptoms. Their consciousness was essentially inhabiting a quantum ghost of their former selves, creating profound psychological instability. Elena studied Park's findings with growing horror. If their reality was indeed an unstable echo, then every human on Earth was experiencing varying degrees of dimensional displacement disorder. The psychological implications were staggering. Billions of people were slowly going insane from existing in a reality that shouldn't exist. Intelligence agencies worldwide had been monitoring CERN's discoveries since 2013, 1 year after the supposed end of the world. Classified documents revealed a coordinated international effort to suppress evidence of dimensional fractures while secretly preparing for the inevitable collapse of their artificial reality. The Shadow Protocol, established by a coalition of world governments, operated through seemingly legitimate research institutions and think tanks. Their mission was threefold: monitor dimensional stability, suppress public awareness, and develop contingency plans for timeline collapse. The protocol involved hundreds of scientists, military personnel, and intelligence operatives across 6 continents. Agent Sarah Mitchell, a CIA operative assigned to the Shadow Protocol, had been tracking reality anomalies for a decade. Her reports documented increasing frequency of dimensional glitches worldwide, unexplained weather patterns, geographical inconsistencies, and technological failures that defied conventional explanation. The pattern suggested their fractured reality was becoming increasingly unstable. The most disturbing aspect of the government response was Project Reset, a classified program designed to manage public reaction when dimensional collapse became undeniable. The project included plans for mass media manipulation, emergency martial law, and population control measures that bordered on authoritarian dystopia. Mitchell discovered that governments had been secretly relocating essential personnel to underground facilities designed to survive dimensional collapse. These bunkers, disguised as research stations or military bases, contained technology allegedly capable of maintaining stable reality pockets during timeline disintegration. Elena obtained Mitchell's files through encrypted channels, revealing the true scope of the conspiracy. World leaders knew their reality was artificial and dying, but rather than inform the public, they chose to prepare for the collapse while keeping billions of people ignorant of their impending non-existence. The Large Hadron Collider wasn't just detecting dimensional fractures, it was potentially causing them. Dr. Marcus Chen's analysis revealed that every major experiment since 2012 had created microscopic tears in spacetime, accelerating the deterioration of their already unstable reality. The very instrument designed to understand the universe was inadvertently destroying it. Chen's calculations showed that particle collisions at near light speed generated quantum fields that interfered with dimensional stability. Each experiment created ripple effects that propagated through their fractured timeline, causing reality glitches observable worldwide. The correlation between CERN's operational schedule and global anomaly reports was undeniable. The paradox was terrifying. Stopping the experiments might preserve their dying reality temporarily, but continuing them provided the only hope of understanding how to repair the dimensional fracture. CERN was caught between accelerating their timeline's collapse and potentially discovering a solution to prevent it. Internal debates raged among CERN's classified research teams. Some argued for immediately shutting down the accelerator to minimize further damage. Others insisted that only through continued experimentation could they hope to find a way to stabilize or escape their fractured dimension. Chen discovered that the original 2012 quantum decoherence event might have been triggered by CERN's experiments leading up to that date. The organization had been pushing the boundaries of particle physics for years, unknowingly weakening the fabric of reality until it finally shattered on December 21, 2012. The most chilling possibility was that their current experiments might trigger a second, more catastrophic collapse. If their fractured dimension completely disintegrated, not only would their timeline cease to exist, but the quantum damage might prevent any future realities from forming. Elena realized they were trapped in a scientific nightmare of their own making, using the same technology that destroyed their original reality to understand their current predicament. Reality was showing increasing signs of instability, though most people attributed the anomalies to climate change, technological glitches, or human error. Dr. Elena Vasquez had been secretly documenting these manifestations of dimensional decay, creating a comprehensive database that painted a terrifying picture of accelerating timeline collapse. Weather patterns had become increasingly erratic since 2012, with meteorologists struggling to explain phenomena that defied atmospheric physics. Storms appeared and disappeared without warning, temperatures fluctuated wildly within hours, and precipitation occurred in patterns that seemed to violate conservation of mass. Elena's analysis revealed these weren't climate anomalies. They were symptoms of dimensional instability affecting physical laws. Technology failures had also increased exponentially. Electronic devices malfunctioned in ways that suggested interference from quantum field fluctuations. GPS systems occasionally showed impossible locations. Digital clocks displayed incorrect times despite atomic synchronization, and computer programs generated outputs that violated their programming logic. The most disturbing signs appeared in biological systems. Plants and animals exhibited behaviors that seemed to defy evolutionary programming. Migration patterns had shifted inexplicably, with species traveling to locations they'd never historically visited. Some organisms appeared to age at different rates, while others showed genetic mutations that occurred too rapidly for natural selection. Human physiology also showed subtle but measurable changes. Medical professionals reported increasing cases of patients whose biological markers didn't match their chronological age. Some individuals appeared to be aging faster or slower than normal, while others exhibited cellular structures that seemed inconsistent with their medical histories. Elena's documentation revealed that these anomalies weren't random. They followed patterns that correlated with dimensional stress measurements from CERN. Their fractured reality was literally coming apart at the seams, and the breakdown was accelerating with each passing year. Dr. Elena Vasquez faced an impossible choice: remain silent and allow humanity to live in ignorant bliss until dimensional collapse, or reveal the truth and potentially cause global panic that could accelerate their timeline's destruction. The weight of possessing humanity's most dangerous secret was driving her toward a decision that would change everything. Her encrypted communications with investigative journalist David Park had been ongoing for months. Park had been researching unexplained phenomena worldwide, unknowingly documenting evidence of dimensional decay. Elena's scientific data provided the missing context that transformed his collection of strange incidents into proof of reality's fracture. The ethical implications were staggering. If Elena released the information, billions of people would learn that their lives, relationships, and achievements since 2012 existed in an artificial timeline destined for collapse. The psychological trauma could destroy civilization faster than dimensional decay itself. Yet remaining silent felt equally wrong. Humanity deserved to know the truth about their existence, even if that truth was terrifying. People had the right to make informed decisions about their remaining time, whether measured in years or decades. Elena's sleepless nights were filled with moral calculations. Would revealing the truth inspire humanity to find solutions, or would it trigger mass hysteria that made their situation worse? Could civilization survive learning that reality itself was dying? Her decision crystallized when she discovered CERN's latest classified report. Their mathematical models predicted complete dimensional collapse within 15 years. The timeline was shorter than anyone had estimated, and the signs of decay were accelerating beyond their ability to compensate. Elena realized that humanity's only hope lay in collective action. If the world's greatest minds worked together, they might find a way to stabilize their fractured dimension or transition to a stable reality. But that cooperation was impossible, while the truth remained hidden. David Park's investigative report exploded across global media like a quantum bomb, instantly transforming from fringe conspiracy theory to the most important story in human history. Elena's leaked CERN documents provided irrefutable scientific evidence that reality had fractured in 2012 and humanity had been living in an unstable echo dimension for 13 years. The initial response was predictable chaos. Stock markets crashed as investors grappled with the implications of existing in an artificial timeline. Religious leaders struggled to reconcile their beliefs with evidence that the world had already ended. Governments worldwide issued simultaneous denials while secretly activating emergency protocols. Social media platforms became battlegrounds between those accepting the evidence and those rejecting it as elaborate hoax. Hashtags like #reality fracture and #2012 truth trended globally as billions of people shared their experiences with Mandela effects, unexplained memories, and reality glitches they'd previously dismissed. The scientific community split into factions. Mainstream physicists demanded peer review of Elena's data, while others rushed to replicate her experiments. Independent research teams worldwide began detecting their own evidence of dimensional instability, confirming the leaked findings with terrifying consistency. CERN's official response was carefully crafted denial, but internal communications leaked within hours revealed the organization's panic. Director General Giannotti held emergency meetings with world leaders, discussing damage control strategies and public safety measures. The most significant development came from unexpected sources. Amateur scientists, using readily available equipment, began detecting quantum field anomalies in their local areas. The evidence was becoming impossible to suppress, as thousands of independent researchers confirmed dimensional fractures worldwide. Elena watched the global reaction from her secure location, knowing she had irreversibly changed human civilization. Whether that change would lead to salvation or accelerated destruction remained to be seen. Within 72 hours of the leak, humanity experienced the most rapid paradigm shift in recorded history. The revelation that reality had fractured in 2012 triggered a global awakening that transcended cultural, religious, and political boundaries. People worldwide began recognizing signs of dimensional instability they had previously ignored or rationalized. Support groups formed spontaneously as millions of individuals shared their experiences with reality displacement. The collective realization that widespread false memories were actually glimpses of an authentic timeline created a sense of shared trauma and solidarity. Humanity was grieving for a world they had lost without knowing it. Religious institutions faced unprecedented challenges as believers grappled with evidence that contradicted fundamental doctrines about existence and afterlife. Some denominations embraced the revelation as proof of divine intervention, while others declared it a test of faith. New spiritual movements emerged, focusing on dimensional consciousness and quantum spirituality. Educational systems worldwide struggled to integrate the new reality into curricula. How do you teach history when the timeline itself is artificial? How do you explain physics when the laws of nature are unstable? Universities hastily organized emergency symposiums to address the pedagogical implications of living in a fractured dimension. The economic implications were staggering. Traditional concepts of value, investment, and future planning became meaningless when existence itself was temporary. Some markets collapsed entirely, while others, particularly those related to quantum research and dimensional technology, experienced unprecedented growth. Most significantly, the revelation sparked an explosion of scientific collaboration. Researchers worldwide began sharing data freely, abandoning competitive secrecy in favor of collective survival. The race to understand and potentially repair dimensional fractures became humanity's first truly global scientific endeavor. Elena monitored the response with cautious optimism. Despite initial chaos, humanity was adapting with remarkable resilience, transforming existential crisis into collaborative determination. The global scientific community mobilized with unprecedented urgency, transforming the search for dimensional stability into humanity's greatest collaborative effort. Research teams across 6 continents worked around the clock, sharing data through encrypted networks while racing against the accelerating collapse of their fractured reality. Dr. Yuki Tanaka's team in Tokyo made the first breakthrough, discovering that certain quantum field configurations could temporarily stabilize local reality pockets. Their experiments with superconducting magnets created zones where dimensional decay slowed measurably, offering hope that larger-scale stabilization might be possible. Meanwhile, researchers at MIT developed theoretical models for dimensional repair, proposing that coordinated particle accelerator experiments worldwide could potentially stitch their fractured timeline back together. The concept required precise synchronization between facilities on multiple continents, creating quantum resonance patterns that might heal space-time itself. The most promising development came from an unexpected source: ancient texts. Linguists and physicists working together discovered that several prehistoric civilizations had documented similar dimensional fractures, along with techniques for navigating between realities. The Mayans, Egyptians, and certain Aboriginal cultures all possessed knowledge that seemed impossibly advanced for their technological level. Dr. Sarah Blackwood's translation of recently discovered tablets revealed that the ancients had faced similar crises and developed methods for transitioning consciousness between dimensional states. Their techniques involved meditation practices, astronomical alignments, and crystalline structures that could focus quantum energy. Elena coordinated between research teams, watching humanity's greatest minds work together despite political tensions and cultural differences. The shared threat of dimensional collapse had achieved what centuries of diplomacy couldn't: genuine global cooperation focused on species survival. Time was running short, but for the first time since discovering the fracture, Elena felt genuine hope. Humanity was proving capable of extraordinary innovation when faced with ultimate challenges. Not everyone embraced the revelation about reality's fracture. A powerful coalition of government officials, religious leaders, and corporate interests formed what became known as the Reality Resistance, dedicated to suppressing evidence of dimensional instability and maintaining the illusion of normal existence. The resistance operated through sophisticated disinformation campaigns, using advanced AI and deep fake technology to discredit leaked documents and scientific findings. They flooded social media with false flag operations designed to make legitimate evidence appear fabricated, exploiting public confusion to maintain plausible deniability. General Patricia Hayes, a Pentagon official involved in the Shadow Protocol, led the military wing of the resistance. Her classified operations included intimidating researchers, confiscating equipment, and conducting cyber attacks on facilities investigating dimensional anomalies. The goal was to prevent public panic while protecting established power structures. Corporate interests joined the resistance for economic reasons. Major corporations faced catastrophic losses if humanity accepted that their artificial timeline was temporary. Stock markets, insurance companies, and long-term investment firms had everything to lose from widespread acceptance of dimensional collapse. Religious extremists formed another faction, declaring the dimensional fracture evidence to be demonic deception designed to undermine faith. They organized massive rallies promoting denial of scientific evidence, while claiming that accepting the truth would damn souls to eternal punishment. The resistance's most effective strategy involved co-opting legitimate concerns about public safety. They argued that revealing the truth about dimensional instability would cause mass suicide, economic collapse, and social chaos that would destroy civilization faster than natural timeline decay. Elena found herself targeted by resistance operatives who attempted to discredit her research and personal character. The battle for truth had become a war between those seeking solutions and those protecting comfortable lies. Doctor, Lisa Park's research into the neurological effects of dimensional fracture led to a startling discovery. Human consciousness itself might be the key to stabilizing their fractured reality. Her experiments revealed that focused mental activity could measurably influence local quantum fields, suggesting that collective human intention might affect dimensional stability. The breakthrough came during meditation studies with subjects who reported strong Mandela effect experiences. Brain scans showed that these individuals could temporarily synchronize their neural activity with quantum field fluctuations, creating brief periods of enhanced dimensional coherence in their immediate vicinity. Park's team discovered that consciousness wasn't just observing reality, it was actively participating in its creation and maintenance. The quantum observer effect, previously considered a minor curiosity in physics, appeared to be fundamental to dimensional stability. Human awareness was literally holding their fractured timeline together through collective unconscious effort. The implications were revolutionary. If enough people could consciously focus on dimensional stability, they might be able to prevent timeline collapse through pure mental effort. The concept challenged every assumption about the relationship between mind and matter, consciousness and reality. Ancient meditation traditions suddenly gained scientific relevance as Park's research revealed that contemplative practices developed over millennia were actually techniques for quantum consciousness manipulation. Tibetan monks, Sufi mystics, and Aboriginal Dreamtime practitioners had unknowingly been working with dimensional energy for centuries. The most promising discovery involved what Park termed quantum entanglement consciousness, the ability for human minds to synchronize across vast distances, creating coherent fields of intention that could influence reality itself. If millions of people could achieve this synchronization simultaneously, the effect might be powerful enough to repair dimensional fractures. Elena realized that humanity's salvation might not require advanced technology or exotic physics. It might simply require learning to use consciousness itself as a tool for reality maintenance. CERN's latest calculations revealed a terrifying timeline. Their fractured dimension would reach critical instability within 18 months. The rate of dimensional decay was accelerating exponentially, with reality glitches increasing in frequency and severity worldwide. Humanity was running out of time to find solutions. Dr. Marcus Chen's mathematical models painted a grim picture of cascading collapse. As dimensional fractures widened, they created feedback loops that accelerated further breakdown. Weather systems would become increasingly chaotic, technology would fail more frequently, and the boundary between their artificial timeline and absolute void would continue thinning. The signs were already visible to those who knew what to look for. Aurora phenomena appeared at latitudes where they shouldn't exist, suggesting magnetic field instabilities caused by dimensional stress. Gravitational anomalies created localized areas where objects fell at incorrect speeds. Time itself seemed to flow inconsistently, with atomic clocks showing minute but measurable variations. Elena coordinated emergency meetings between research teams worldwide, sharing Chen's projections and discussing desperate measures for timeline stabilization. The collaborative effort had produced several promising theories, but none had been tested at the scale required for dimensional repair. The quantum consciousness experiments showed the most potential, but required unprecedented coordination between millions of participants. Dr. Park's team was developing protocols for global meditation events designed to focus collective human intention on dimensional stability. Meanwhile, the engineering teams were preparing for a last resort option: synchronized particle accelerator experiments designed to create a controlled dimensional collapse that might allow consciousness to transition to a stable reality. The procedure was theoretical and extremely dangerous, with significant risk of complete timeline annihilation. Elena stared at the countdown timer she'd installed on her computer, watching seconds tick away toward humanity's potential extinction. 18 months to save a reality that shouldn't exist, using science that challenged everything they thought they knew about existence itself. With dimensional collapse imminent, humanity prepared for the most ambitious experiment in history. a coordinated attempt to stabilize their fractured reality using combined technological and consciousness-based approaches. Every particle accelerator worldwide would synchronize with a global meditation event involving millions of participants, creating unprecedented quantum resonance. Dr. Elena Vasquez stood in CERN's control room, surrounded by representatives from research facilities across 6 continents. The Large Hadron Collider hummed with energy as teams in Japan, America, Russia, and Europe prepared their equipment for simultaneous activation. The margin for error was 0. Failure would likely trigger immediate dimensional collapse. The consciousness component required equally precise coordination. Dr. Lisa Park had trained meditation leaders worldwide in quantum awareness techniques, preparing them to guide millions of participants in focused intention toward dimensional stability. The event would be broadcast globally, with real-time biometric monitoring to ensure optimal neural synchronization. Ancient wisdom merged with cutting-edge science as the experiment incorporated astronomical alignments identified in prehistoric texts. The timing coincided with a rare celestial configuration that supposedly enhanced dimensional accessibility, according to Mayan and Egyptian calculations that had proven remarkably accurate. Elena's hands trembled as she initiated the countdown sequence. 18 months of desperate research had led to this moment, humanity's last chance to save their artificial existence or transition to something better. The alternative was absolute non-existence, not just for their timeline, but potentially for any future reality. Global communications networks carried live feeds from every major research facility, allowing billions of people to witness humanity's ultimate gamble. Religious leaders prayed, scientists monitored instruments, and ordinary citizens focused their consciousness on a single shared intention: survival. As the countdown reached 0, Elena pressed the activation button, launching an experiment that would either save humanity or erase them from existence entirely. The synchronized activation created effects that exceeded every theoretical prediction. Particle accelerators worldwide generated perfectly coordinated quantum fields, while millions of human minds focused their consciousness on dimensional stability. The resonance between technology and intention produced phenomena that challenged the fundamental understanding of reality itself. Dr. Elena Vasquez watched in amazement as her instruments detected massive shifts in dimensional stress patterns. The fractures that had been widening for 13 years suddenly began contracting, as if space-time itself was healing. The quantum fields generated by the accelerators seemed to be guided by the collective human consciousness, creating precision that pure technology couldn't achieve alone. Around the world, people reported extraordinary experiences during the meditation phase. Participants described feeling connected to a vast network of human consciousness, sensing the presence of millions of other minds focused on the same intention. Many reported vivid visions of reality restructuring itself, with fractured timelines merging and stabilizing. The most dramatic effects appeared in areas with the highest concentrations of meditating participants. Reality glitches that had persisted for years suddenly resolved. Weather patterns stabilized, technological anomalies ceased, and the persistent sense of temporal displacement that many people experienced began to fade. Dr. Lisa Park's biometric monitoring revealed unprecedented levels of neural synchronization among participants. Brainwaves across continents were oscillating in perfect harmony, creating a global consciousness field that seemed to be actively repairing dimensional damage through pure intention. However, the process wasn't without risks. Several particle accelerator facilities reported equipment overloads as the quantum fields exceeded design specifications. The resonance between human consciousness and particle physics was generating energies that pushed technology beyond its limits. Elena realized they were witnessing something unprecedented: the merger of science and consciousness into a new form of reality manipulation that transcended both disciplines. As the global experiment continued, signs of dimensional healing became undeniable. The fractures that had threatened to destroy their timeline were not just stabilizing, they were actively repairing themselves through the combined force of human intention and quantum technology. Reality was literally rebuilding itself in real time. Dr. Marcus Chen's instruments showed dimensional stress levels dropping to their lowest measurements since 2012. The cascade of quantum decay that had been accelerating toward total collapse suddenly reversed, with space-time fabrics strengthening rather than deteriorating. The mathematical models that had predicted 18 months until destruction now suggested their timeline might achieve permanent stability. Around the world, people reported profound changes in their perception of reality. The persistent feeling of living in an artificial timeline began to fade, replaced by a sense of authentic existence that many hadn't experienced since before 2012. Mandela effect experiences decreased dramatically as the boundary between their fractured dimension and the original timeline began to merge. The healing process wasn't uniform across the globe. Areas with the highest concentrations of meditation participants showed the most dramatic improvements, while regions with lower participation rates continued experiencing minor reality glitches. The correlation between human consciousness and dimensional stability was becoming impossible to ignore. Dr. Sarah Blackwood's analysis of ancient texts revealed that previous civilizations had faced similar crises and achieved successful dimensional repairs through comparable techniques. The combination of technology, consciousness, and astronomical timing had been used throughout history to navigate reality transitions. Elena monitored the global healing with cautious optimism. The experiment was succeeding beyond their most optimistic projections, but the process was far from complete. Maintaining dimensional stability would require ongoing cooperation between scientific institutions and consciousness practitioners worldwide. For the first time since discovering the fracture, Elena allowed herself to believe that humanity might not just survive their artificial timeline, they might transform it into something stronger than the original reality they had lost. The successful dimensional repair created a reality that was neither the original timeline that ended in 2012, nor the fractured echo that had sustained humanity for 13 years. Instead, the merger of human consciousness and quantum technology had generated something entirely new, a hybrid dimension that combined the stability of natural spacetime with the flexibility of conscious reality manipulation. Dr. Elena Vasquez found herself studying phenomena that required entirely new scientific frameworks to understand. The healed dimension exhibited properties that suggested reality itself had become more responsive to human consciousness. The observer effect, previously limited to quantum particles, now extended to macroscopic systems, allowing focused intention to influence physical events in measurable ways. The transformation wasn't just scientific, it was evolutionary. Humans who had participated in the global healing experiment retained enhanced sensitivity to quantum fields, developing abilities that bordered on what previous generations would have called supernatural. These individuals could detect dimensional instabilities before instruments registered them, and their focused intention could prevent minor reality glitches from developing into serious fractures. Educational systems worldwide scrambled to integrate consciousness studies into scientific curricula. The artificial separation between subjective experience and objective reality had been permanently shattered, requiring new pedagogical approaches that honored both empirical observation and conscious participation in reality creation. Religious and spiritual traditions experienced renaissance as their practices gained scientific validation. Meditation, prayer, and contemplative techniques were no longer considered separate from physics. They were recognized as essential tools for dimensional maintenance and reality optimization. The most significant change was humanity's relationship with existence itself. The collective experience of nearly losing reality had created a species-wide appreciation for the preciousness and fragility of consciousness. People approached life with enhanced awareness that their thoughts and intentions were literally shaping the world around them. Elena realized they had achieved something unprecedented: conscious evolution through crisis, transforming potential extinction into expanded capability. Humanity emerged from the dimensional crisis fundamentally transformed, having learned that consciousness and reality were inseparably connected. The old paradigm of passive observation gave way to active participation in existence itself, creating a civilization that consciously collaborated with the quantum foundations of reality. Scientific institutions worldwide restructured their research programs to integrate consciousness studies with traditional physics. The false dichotomy between subjective and objective reality had been permanently dissolved, replaced by recognition that human awareness was an essential component of universal function. Universities established new departments of quantum consciousness, training researchers in both empirical methodology and contemplative practice. The global cooperation that emerged during the crisis continued long after dimensional stability was achieved. The shared experience of nearly losing existence created unprecedented unity among nations, cultures, and belief systems. International conflicts decreased dramatically as humanity recognized their fundamental interdependence, not just politically and economically, but literally at the quantum level of reality. Technology evolved to incorporate consciousness interfaces, allowing human intention to directly influence quantum systems. The boundary between mind and machine became increasingly fluid as engineers developed devices that responded to thought patterns and emotional states. Computing evolved from purely mechanical processing to hybrid systems that combined artificial intelligence with human consciousness. Dr. Elena Vasquez established the Institute for Dimensional Stability, a global organization dedicated to monitoring reality integrity and training new generations in consciousness-based reality maintenance. The Institute's mission was ensuring that humanity never again faced existential crisis through ignorance of their fundamental role in creating and maintaining existence. The most profound change was philosophical. Humanity had learned that reality wasn't something that happened to them. It was something they participated in creating moment by moment through their collective consciousness. This recognition transformed everything from personal relationships to global governance, as people understood that their thoughts and intentions had literal consequences for the fabric of existence itself. 5 years after the dimensional healing, humanity had established sophisticated systems for monitoring reality stability and preventing future fractures. The Global Consciousness Network combined technological sensors with trained human observers, creating an early warning system that could detect dimensional anomalies before they became dangerous. Dr. Lisa Park led the Consciousness Monitoring Division, training thousands of individuals in quantum awareness techniques that allowed them to sense dimensional stress patterns. These reality guardians were stationed worldwide, maintaining constant vigilance for signs of space-time instability while practicing meditation techniques that actively strengthened local dimensional integrity. The technological component involved a network of quantum field detectors more sensitive than anything that existed before the crisis. These instruments, enhanced with consciousness interfaces, could measure dimensional stress with unprecedented precision while responding to human intention to optimize their sensitivity and accuracy. Elena's role evolved from crisis researcher to reality architect, working with teams worldwide to design systems that would prevent future dimensional fractures. Her research focused on understanding the relationship between human consciousness evolution and space-time stability, seeking to ensure that humanity's growing awareness enhanced rather than threatened reality integrity. The most important discovery was that dimensional stability wasn't a fixed state, but a dynamic process requiring constant maintenance through conscious participation. Reality was revealed to be more like a living system than a mechanical structure, requiring care and attention to remain healthy and stable. Educational programs taught children from early ages about their role in reality maintenance, integrating consciousness practices with traditional subjects. The next generation grew up understanding that their thoughts and intentions were literally shaping the world around them, creating a society that consciously participated in reality creation. Elena often reflected on how close humanity had come to complete extinction, and how that crisis had ultimately led to conscious evolution that might not have occurred otherwise. The dimensional crisis of 2012-2025 became humanity's defining evolutionary moment, transforming the species from unconscious reality participants to conscious reality co-creators. The near-extinction experience had catalyzed developments in consciousness, science, and civilization that might have taken millennia to achieve under normal circumstances. Museums worldwide preserved artifacts from the fractured timeline period, displaying evidence of reality glitches alongside documentation of humanity's response to existential crisis. These exhibits served as reminders of both the fragility of existence and the power of collective human consciousness to overcome seemingly impossible challenges. The scientific revolution that emerged from dimensional research continued generating breakthrough discoveries. Understanding the relationship between consciousness and quantum mechanics opened entirely new fields of study, from reality engineering to consciousness archaeology. Researchers explored how previous civilizations had navigated dimensional transitions, uncovering evidence of multiple reality crises throughout human history. Dr. Elena Vasquez's memoirs became required reading in schools worldwide, documenting the personal journey from discovering reality fracture to achieving dimensional healing. Her account emphasized how individual courage to reveal dangerous truths had ultimately enabled collective salvation, inspiring new generations to prioritize truth over comfort. The philosophical implications continued reverberating through human culture. Art, literature, and music explored themes of reality fluidity, consciousness participation, and the responsibility that came with understanding one's role in existence creation. Humanity had gained not just survival, but wisdom about the nature of reality itself. Religious and spiritual traditions evolved to incorporate the scientifically validated understanding that consciousness was fundamental to reality function. The ancient wisdom that had guided dimensional healing gained new respect as empirically verified truth, rather than mere belief or superstition. Most significantly, humanity had learned that crisis could catalyze evolution if met with courage, cooperation, and conscious intention. As humanity settled into their new reality, researchers began exploring the implications of conscious reality participation for the future of existence itself. If human consciousness could heal dimensional fractures and maintain space-time stability, what other aspects of reality might be subject to conscious influence and optimization? Dr. Elena Vasquez's advanced research team investigated the possibility of conscious reality design, deliberately creating improved versions of existence through focused collective intention. Their preliminary experiments suggested that sufficiently coordinated human consciousness could influence fundamental constants of physics, potentially optimizing reality for enhanced well-being and expanded possibility. The concept challenged every assumption about the relationship between consciousness and cosmos. If reality was truly participatory rather than fixed, then humanity's role extended far beyond passive observation to active creation and continuous improvement of existence itself. The species had evolved from reality victims to reality artists. Exploration of parallel dimensions became possible as consciousness techniques developed during the crisis enabled limited access to alternative timelines. Researchers discovered that the 2012 fracture had created not just their single echo dimension, but multiple parallel realities, each developing different solutions to the dimensional crisis. Contact between these realities offered unprecedented opportunities for learning and collaboration. The most profound realization was that consciousness itself might be the fundamental force underlying all existence. Matter, energy, space, and time appeared to be expressions of underlying conscious intention rather than separate phenomena that somehow generated awareness as an emergent property. This recognition suggested that conscious beings weren't just participants in reality, they were reality's primary creative agents. Eleanor often contemplated the infinite possibilities that had opened through humanity's dimensional crisis. What had begun as potential extinction had become conscious evolution toward capabilities that previous generations would have considered divine. The future stretched ahead, filled with opportunities for reality optimization that were limited only by human imagination and wisdom.